Tonight, we are joined by independent journalist and friend of the show, Jason Lavigne, to give us an update on both the Alberta sovereignty movement and on the tour that he's been doing with Bruce Pardy and Nadine Wellwood. Mr. Lavigne, what is going on, brother?
I'm doing
Good day,
good.
sir.
And I
How's it
didn't
going?
know you guys became Alberta sovereignists, because all I've been hearing for the last 10 minutes or so are reasons for Alberta to separate. So thank you very much
You're
for
welcome.
the promotion of Alberta sovereignty there.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're welcome. You're welcome. It's not an easy sell today. Eh? You just look at what's going on. It's even in the comments, I hear that all the time. They're like, Canada's screwed. We're depending on the Alberta independence. And I don't know if it was with you that we spoke about this, but one thing I've said from the get-go is Mark Carney is going to be the last prime minister of Canada as we know it.
Yeah. And I think that's been echoed a lot since his election, all over this country, Quebec as well, Saskatchewan now, Alberta for sure. We came out of the gate pretty hot on that one. And did you say that Andrew Lawton was looking for 2 weeks on Bill 9 before they get back to it?
Yeah, he was all proud and happy to announce that Bill C9 has been put on the back burner for 2 weeks while they deal with bail reform. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Bail reform needs to be dealt with, but I want I don't want to lose my right to say whatever the hell I want to say, no matter who it offends. Or that's more important to me than bail reform.
No, and you made a good argument there, but he wants 2 weeks to flatten the bill. So, that probably will work out. It always works out.
Yeah. But it's just
2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Flatten that bill. Yeah, good luck with that. Bill 9 is a tough one.
That is the worst piece of legislation, in my opinion, that's been tabled right now outside of Bill C-63. And it's so dangerous because Bill C-16 calls on the definition of hatred that Bill C-9 gives. And you know that the new Bill C-63, that is the Online Harms Act, or it's probably going to be called the Online Safety Act now, is going to call on that definition of hatred, because that definition does not exist in the criminal code as we speak right now. And for you to go to jail for hurting people's feelings, you need that definition somewhere, even though that it is just greater than disdained. Absolutely insane.
It wasn't long ago that you had John Carpe on, and at that episode, the three of us recognized quickly that collectively these are the big brother bills, and they're going to cross-reference themselves all over because they couldn't release one big bill that said the Big Brother Act. So they broke it up into all these little pieces. It's coming true. You see this now, right?
100%. I called it as soon as those bills started coming out. I called it. I've been talking about this for months, and I don't know, man. It doesn't seem the Conservatives are not talking about it the way it should be addressed. The Liberals obviously are for it. The Bloc are for it, but I don't know for you guys, and I don't know what you're hearing in Alberta, considering that you've been touring a lot recently. You were even at the Big Four yesterday. Are Albertans even interested in Canadian politics anymore, or are they done? Because this is what's hurting me as somebody that wants Canada to do good, is the most conservative province in Canada doesn't seem to care for Canada anymore. They're way busier on the Alberta independence, and that's not good for the rest of Canada.
No, there's a lot of us that have already completely checked out of the Canadian system, the Westminster system, the Carney carnage. We've checked out a long time ago. What you'll see happen here is every once in a while we'll pull in one of your headlines and go, see, this is why we got to go. Even in our churches, they're talking about Bill 9. Like, that's actually happening in our churches here. Really? And it just leads into the conversation of why we can't be under Ottawa's control anymore. They don't understand us, our values. They're coming out and attacking us, our faith. There's just reason after reason. Carney going to China and saying New World Order, and you got Elizabeth May saying she's on board with New World Order. She's a swing vote right now. She's a balance of power. Like, Canada's done. Like, I'm not sure how much. Well, more like here we love our steaks rare or medium rare, but not well done. Nobody out here allows you to have a well done steak, and Canada's at that stage now. It's done. There's no saving this anymore, as far as Albertans are concerned. Yeah, it's cooked.
So what are you hearing? So what are
burnt to the crisp.
What are you hearing? Because I saw your video from the Big Four. I saw Alberta dad that was there too. He posted a video.
Mhm.
There was a lot of people there. Damn. Like this room. Hold on. You know, I thought I brought it up. I did. I believe I downloaded your video. Let me play it to give people perspective, but it was actually pretty impressive. Like there seemed to be a lot of people. Here's the video you shared yesterday or this morning.
And with that, I will introduce our MC this evening, Derek from Unacceptable Fringe. Please welcome him to the stage with a big round of applause. Derek.
That's a lot of people.
Like that. That's a
Wow.
lot of people, eh?
Yeah, and what it doesn't capture
are
is
you-
all the lineups throughout the day and the signatures, because a lot of people signed and left. But that's at the Big Four, which is just across from the BMO Center, where the original event was scheduled, but their capacity was 6,000. So it got moved to 7,500 capacity at the Big Four. And that was standing room only. What you didn't see there is about an hour later, when it was really full, all the way in the back, people were standing, all along the sides, people were standing, and nobody was leaving until Mitch was done his speech. Everybody stayed for the whole thing.
What are you
So
getting
Jason,
from
are you seeing
Albertans
an
right now?
increase in the awareness?
100%. Ever since everything's kicked off early January, there were long lines. But now that Edmonton showed up, the park was full. Thousands of people went there. Calgary, thousands of people went there. Now you're getting, even in cold weather up in Grand Prairie, thousands of people are showing up. More and more people are seeing it's real. And they're also seeing the lying news, because you had CTV say 500 people showed up in an Edmonton park. There was 5,000 people there. And people are seeing this now. So there's a lot of people coming out. They weren't sure if it was real. They know it's real now. So these lines are not stopping either. From 11 o'clock till 11 a.m. till 10 o'clock p.m., people were showing up to sign. There's 150 canvassers at the Big Four. That means people taking signatures so we can move people through there quickly. And there were still lineups. It was amazing to see. And this is in the heart of Calgary.
How many signatures do you think you guys have right now?
There's an estimate between 6,000 and 8,000 went through just yesterday at that one event.
But altogether.
We don't have that number. Elections Alberta doesn't allow that to be promoted or talked about. We can't release that until all signature collections are done and the period's done. And I actually got accepted as an Elections Alberta third-party advertiser today. So that allows me to do a lot more than I could yesterday when it comes to these events. I'm excited to bring a lot more towards and information to people over the coming weeks.
How many signatures do you guys need?
177,000, but the goal is 1 million plus. So we're going to try and get 5 or 6 times what we require to get this done.
You think it's going to happen?
Absolutely.
Wow.
I think that million is becoming more attainable, especially when you see Calgary and Edmonton show up. When you look at the rural areas, like Drayton Valley, the lineup was around the corner. Red Deer, the first event I did January 10th, the lineup was around the corner, past the parking lot, around that corner too. 3-hour wait, and people were happy to be in that line. I walked the line. I'm asking people, hey, do you mind that you're waiting? And the most common response is, I've been waiting my whole life. Another hour is not going to bug me.
Man,
And you're seeing all ages there, guys. You're seeing all ages and all
Jason,
classes there.
Go ahead, Rob.
So let's say you guys get the numbers that you think. Obviously, you don't have a crystal ball, but walk us through what you think is going to happen, the timeline of that next. Like what happens after that? When does the vote happen? And if the vote goes your way, when do you think the actual separation happens? And just your best guess. I know these things are very complex.
Those are amazing questions, Rob. So I had Mitch Sylvester on my show yesterday morning. He's a petitioner, so he's the one that started all of this. He says that once we're done our collection period in early May, if the numbers are there, we get that referendum in about October. And if that comes back a yes, we could be looking at a constitutional convention in December or early January 2027. And that would be one of the big steps to start hashing out what the new constitution would look like for Alberta. In the meantime, the current government, that will be Danielle Smith's government, will have to start the negotiations with Ottawa. And you got to understand that the Clarity Act was written in such a way that once you invoke the Clarity Act through a referendum with a yes vote, it's not a negotiation tool to keep you in the country. It is a negotiation tool to secede from the country. You're actually not allowed to leverage those results to have a new deal within Canada. You actually have to be serious about leaving before you can execute those negotiations. And that's exactly what we expect this government to do. There's a provincial election October 2027 that's required. So we expect it to happen before then to have these negotiations done, or that government may be replaced by a party that's far more excited about making those conversations complete. But it could be as quick as 2027 that Alberta is in the final stages of ceding from Canada.
It's very interesting the movement that you guys have started, because now we're hearing parts of BC are talking about it. I spoke with Chris Barber not too long ago. He's like, I'm not really interested in fighting for Canada. I'm paraphrasing, but he's not really interested to fight for Canada anymore. He's going to concentrate his time on Saskatchewan separation. And now we have the Parti Québécois, the PC in Quebec. And yes, I said it in French for my Frenchies out there. But we have the Parti Québécois that Plamondon, the guy leading it, is a separatist. He's an open separatist. And last week I was on the conservative corner with David Creighton, and we had Jeff Rath. Was it last week? No, the week before. We had Jeff Rath, and he was saying that behind closed doors he has been dealing with Plamondon in order to see how they can help each other get their independence. So it's what Alberta started is really, really interesting. But man, you guys started the destruction of Canada. Not that it's your fault, as in you were abused for more than 10 years. So from the get-go, you and I, you know this, I backed Alberta 100,000,000,000%. I understand why you guys want to be independent, but man,
Well,
imagine Alberta being gone, BC talking about it, Saskatchewan talking about leaving, and Quebec leaving, because Quebec could separate
Well,
extremely
Canada,
fast. Like,
Canada can't
I was
exist.
hearing one of their ministers one of the guys that would become minister if he was elected as part of the Parti Québécois, and he's like, we already have our questions done, bro. Like, he was on the radio, he's just like, we're ready to go. And this is happening this year. There's an election in 2026. So Alberta and Quebec could literally be out of Canada by 2027. It's insane when you think about it.
and I'll just make one
I
correction
feel
there.
like
I don't
there's
think we
a.
started this at
Go ahead,
all.
Jason.
I think we're going to finish this, though. I absolutely agree with that part of it.
Yeah.
This has started 40 plus years ago. This is the third major wave. The Reform Party was one of the waves that happened in the 80s. But it looks like this generation is ready to finish the job. And I absolutely think that if a yes vote happens here in Alberta, Quebec's on a fast track because the payments are going to stop. $15 billion won't be coming out of Alberta anymore. And there's very little reason for Quebec to stick around if these equalization payments kind of dry up on them. But I think on their side too, they're going to absolutely be accelerating their plans to leave. You mentioned Saskatchewan. Brad Williams from Saskatchewan Prosperity Project was on last week. They're excited too. They're working really hard. They don't have a path forward with a referendum in Saskatchewan. It's the only province that doesn't allow a referendum because they don't have a statute for that, but they're working on getting that rectified. And you're very correct about BC. I think that's the sleeping giant a lot of people are overlooking because they had 30% support when we had 30% support as well. We've grown a lot in Alberta, but the northern part and central part of BC, especially the ceded lands that are under treaties that are ceded, those people are really considering an internal referendum to go ahead and maybe separate BC up and break BC up, because with UNDRIP and DRIPA and all those complications with the unceded portions of BC, the ceded portions of BC are very concerned about what's going to happen to their land. So you might see a lot more breaking up of Canada that any of us ever saw coming as this continues.
It's I think that Alberta separating is going to help Quebec move forward, because one of the equalization payments are not going to be there. But if you look at the natural resources that we have in Quebec, we're in a very similar position as Alberta. We're talking hydroelectricity, we're talking rare minerals. We are full of those minerals, but we are
Yeah,
not
natural gas.
exploiting or not. Oh yeah, but we are not. But just like Alberta, we're not exploiting our natural resources the way it should be exploited. And if you cut those $15 billion in equalization payment every year, you can no longer be a welfare state. You're gonna have to put people to work and be dependent and or be independent. My apologies, but we have the natural resources to do it, just like Alberta does. And that to me might be the kick in the ass that a guy like Plamondon leading the Parti Québécois needs. He wants this to start exploiting his own province. So everything's there to do it. It's just a matter of having it done. And I think Alberta's opening up that door, and Canada will never be the same. That's exactly what we're seeing now. Very interesting.
And one of the elements that's missing this time around that we saw in 95 for Quebec was the country basically told Quebec, we love you, don't leave, we want to stay together. That's not happening this time around. There's a lot of people upset with us. John Arden kind of kicked that ball off for everybody. But the attitude is, you can't leave, we won't let you leave, screw you for even talking about it. We're getting absolutely no reasons to stay. There is absolutely no good argument.
Yeah.
The Forever Canada group, when they were crossing the province, couldn't answer the question of why should we stay. But there's a whole bunch of reasons on why we should leave. And you heard a bunch of them at the big four yesterday. You know, meme after meme and post after post Mitch was putting up there. And it's like, oh yeah, that too. Oh yeah, look at that one. Oh wow, Bill 9. Like, holy smokes, look at 63. Like, there's a reason after reason why this doesn't work anymore. And I'm really surprised that more provinces haven't started to take a look at this, like Newfoundland, one of the last ones to join. They may want to start taking another look at the deal they got when they came. But seeing the West, even Manitoba, Manitoba should start taking a look at what they can do if they were their own republic. We may be starting it, but I don't think we're close to finishing. I think there's going to be a lot more provinces start putting a hat in the ring and testing that water, especially if a referendum in October in Alberta comes back as a strong yes, so 60% plus.
The Rob, there's a question in the comment section for you, and I think it's a relevant one. Trevor's asking you a question for you as a vet. How do you feel about this?
As a vet? So I, as an Easterner, I do not want Alberta to separate. I think it will essentially, effectively destroy Canada as we know it. And I think it will, you know, I recognize Alberta as the economic engine of Canada. So I don't want them to separate. And, you know, my personal opinion is, you know, I hope Jason's side loses. On the other hand, I understand why. I understand you know, I should actually go back to that a second. Another reason is I've, you know, as you said, as an ex-vet, I also have a military pension, right? That is a large part of my income. And I'm sure I don't know exactly the breakdown, but I'm sure most of that comes from Alberta. So if Alberta leaves, that's going to probably almost certainly affect me directly. So again, from my own perspective, in much the same way that from the average Albertan's perspective, many of them do not want to leave, or many of them do want to leave. From my perspective, I don't want them to leave, but I get it. I think that Canada has really taken advantage of Alberta, and I think, you know, the attitude has been just garbage. You know, it's funny, you were talking about Jason's talking about the differences or the similarities between the Alberta and Quebec situation, and I kind of focus on the differences a little bit. You know, or I guess Jason mentioned this difference, that the way that Quebec was treated is fundamentally different than the way Alberta is treated, and yet Alberta actually has a valid beef, and I don't believe Quebec actually did. I think Quebec was already getting a ton of advantage and benefits from being in Canada. It was a net positive to be in Canada for Quebec, and it's a large net negative to be in Canada for Alberta. You know, what I would like to see would be a complete 180 in the attitude of the way Eastern Canada treats Alberta, enough and in such an aggressive way that it is able to convince Albertans that maybe they don't need to leave. But I'm not seeing that from, you know, the Liberal government or anyone else in Eastern Canada.
No, and one of the speakers at the Big Four yesterday is a vet. And what he spoke was he put up the uniform for the Canadian military because he was fighting for freedom, but he doesn't see freedom within Canada anymore. So he's now fighting for freedom on a Alberta level because that's what we're fighting for here. We're fighting for the freedom of our sovereignty and self-determination. He never thought he would have to do this fight within Canada, but that's what was the big highlight for his speech yesterday was he's ready to fight, not militarily, but he's willing to fight for freedom here, especially for the future generations. And Rob, you nailed it. If there was a 180 turn on the relationship and the way that Alberta was respected, because you're concerned about your pension, and probably rightfully so, because about 12% of the population covers about 25% of the bills here when it comes to the entire nation. So you might be right. The currency may take a hit. There's a lot of funds that will leave the coffers in Ottawa. Things may be getting tight. And already for vets, you guys are totally
Yep.
totally abused as well. You're the people that fought for the country, and yet, as Trudeau said, there's just not. They don't have enough to give. You guys want too much, more than they can give you. So this is all I can really offer to you, Rob, is maybe start checking out some property around Calgary or Edmonton. Red Deer might be a good fit for you, because I think you'd be
Well, if it
respected out here.
happens, I'll probably start thinking about that.
Yeah, you'd be respected out here. We actually honor our vets out here and our seniors and the next generations. We put family and faith and future and freedom first out here. This is why a lot of people call themselves Albertans first, Canadians second, because we have a very different mindset out here. And you'd be welcome. People like you and Nico, even with that accent, would be very welcomed out in Alberta.
Well, it's to know if they respect liberals though in Alberta, because I don't think there's a lot of them.
He's not a liberal anymore. He's a liberal, historic liberal.
Yeah,
I think he's legacy liberal, maybe a better
maybe
term
in
now.
name only.
Yeah.
What's the
I
term
know,
for
like,
it? A classical
liberals, I
liberal.
get.
Classical liberal is the
Yeah.
term for what Rob
Yes.
is.
Which is not really much of a
But-
liberal these days.
No, that's basically the definition of a conservative in Canada, because our conservatives are not that conservative. So, but it's just, I find it very interesting on the geopolitics. You look on the world level, Trump is swinging that dick as hard as he can. Carney is acting like literally a little idiot, like a little child that his feelings are hurt. And then even on the inside of Canada, it's separation, it's independence all over the place. People are tired, both on the world stage and both on the home stage. 2026 is going to be interesting. 2026 is going to be a very, very interesting year in politics, both locally and in world politics. It's only a month in, and it feels like we've been in 2026 for 6 months already.
Doesn't it? For sure.
Yeah.
And the tour I did with Bruce Pardy and Nadine Wellwood was fun because we hit 5 different locations, and 2 of them that we had booked. One of them was at the Canadian Brew House, and another one's at the Canadian Legion. Both of those canceled our venue bookings. So we'll stay away from anything with Canadian in its title and its name, because it seems like that's probably a bad omen. But Canadian Brew House, I think, learned a hard lesson. They canceled us in North Edmonton. At first, they said we didn't have a booking, but then we produced the text messages and the confirmation from the booking from there. And then they put out a press release saying, okay, they did have a booking, but we want to stay neutral and not do political stuff here. After they put that press release out, we said, hey, by the way, Spruce Grove, Canadian Brew House, you have a political event on the Friday. It's a petition collection for a recall. So you're supporting the NDP's push to remove MLAs, and then they put out another release saying we canceled that event too. So they did all the wrong moves. What they should have done was allowed all the events, be welcoming and opening like they say they are, but they managed to upset everybody all in the same week. And that's too bad to see, because what we want to see here is these are all legal petitions. This is Elections Alberta has provided the pathway for these, and that's for the recalls as well. I'd like to see all businesses just stay neutral and allow anybody to book and have a peaceful assembly and do their business. But Canadian Brew House, I think, took the wrong approach, and we've seen a lot of boycott calls for them now all across this province. People are staying away from them. The Canadian Legion, I get it. They got a lot of pushback as well. But other than those two events, which we rebooked at other locations, so we didn't cancel the events, we just rebooked them. It's been a fantastic success. Like I said, lineups out the door. All of our halls that we booked are full. We've had to add seats to all of them. Standing room only, especially in Drayton Valley, we had well over 350 people in that room just to have conversations and ask questions. And Bruce Pardy was a fantastic person to do that with. He's from Ontario, law professor and lawyer, but he's got a very good outlook that Alberta can help fix Canada if it shakes up the political landscape enough that maybe Ottawa will have to wake up too. I'm not convinced that Carney would do that, and Rob, I don't think that 180 in the attitude will be coming anytime soon. But maybe there's a sliver of hope there that could open that door.
If he's ready to spit in the face of our biggest client, that's worth 950 billions to $1 trillion a year, he doesn't care about Alberta. Sorry. So I wouldn't expect a 180 at all. I would expect him to do the chicken dance, continuing what he's doing right now, because it's not going to happen. It's really not going to happen. What I'm
One thing
really
that
curious
would
though. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. So 1.7 million people voted in the last provincial election. That's why we need 177,000, so 10% for this petition. But if we ended up getting 1.2, 1.3 million people on that petition, this is before the referendum itself, that will give a 6-month period before the referendum is voted on, that if they really want to make some change and they really want to sit down and do some conversations, that would be the time. And Danielle Smith may be very well equipped with 1.3 million signatures on a petition that's turning into a referendum, maybe negotiate. But again, I don't think with the official opposition, the Conservatives do not want to see this happen. There's a reason why Pierre said he's not running in Alberta in the next election. He's already given that seat up. He's coming out here to kind of rally a little bit of support on the 30th. There's that event on the 31st with a bunch of conservative influencers. they're really trying to do their best in Alberta to try and convince what's left of the Conservative Party to kind of stand up against independence. But look, they got a lot to lose. 37 seats would be off the table if Alberta's out of the door, and you may never see a Conservative government in Canada again. So I can see why they're getting nervous, and I can see why they're pushing hard now. And they're behind some of the propaganda too at this stage, Nico. Trump's going to take you over. If you actually look at the procedure in the U.S., that's an impossibility. We went through that with Dennis Modry on Thursday. It can't happen. And Mitch laid it out as well on Monday. The U.S. government is not looking to make Alberta a 51st state. The Democrats don't support that. They need 2/3. They need a referendum on our side to accept it. That's just not in the cards. But that's what the propaganda is saying. A lot of people are saying Trump's trying to take Alberta, and that's coming out of even conservative media now from the East.
That is a very valid point that you're making, because they are having an event where something like 12 conservative social media creators are going to Alberta just next to the convention for the Conservative Party that's taken place from the 29th to the 31st. Is that what you think it is? They are trying to, because I know they're shills. I've called them shills to their faces. They know how I feel about them. They're very aware. And I think that's what they are. That's what they do. That's what they continue to do. But is that what you're getting as somebody that's from, as an Albertan, when you see a bunch of Easterners outside of one, it seems like that's going to Alberta to for the Conservative convention? Is that what you think it is? They're being paid to be there. They're being encouraged.
I don't know about paid, but I'm pretty sure Pierre is going to show up to that little party. Well, maybe they see the bigger picture here, where they're trying to get more support to stay in Canada. Obviously, my invite was lost in the email because I wasn't invited to this event, and I'm one of the conservative commentators in Alberta. There's a couple of people out there that I think are good people that are going to that event. Absolutely. I wouldn't lump them all together. But I do think that there's some heavily conservative aligned people coming out, and they're trying to recruit, maybe talk to some Alberta conservative commentators and influencers to maybe change their tone. Several of them that are going, though, they're definitely or the sovereignty of Alberta. So I don't think they're going to be changing their minds anytime soon. And there's a lot of drama around that particular event, like who should go, who shouldn't go, who's not there, and all that kind of stuff. But I can tell you at the Big Four, all the Alberta conservative commentators were there in one way, shape, or form. I saw Marty there. He was a good guy. I'm planning a tour out with him. I'm planning a tour out with David Parker as well. Several events coming up in April where a lot of these guys will be there. There's a lot of work being done by all of us out here. So I don't think anybody's going to be able to rock the boat and get us to start infighting and going after each other. Like I was trying to say to you, Nico and Rob, the East Side conservatives are really trying to damper the movement out here, and are using the term conservative to do it. Because I think they fully understand 37 seats are on the line. They'll never get them back. Once we're gone, we're gone. Saskatchewan will be on its way as well. There's another chunk there. But I think the Conservative Party is very concerned, very worried about what's going on out here. And I guarantee you, come May 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, when the final numbers come out on the petition signatures, that's when you're going to see a lot of sweat happening. Because if it hits the 1 million mark, 1.7 voted, 1 million are saying they're going to vote for independence. We're already at a win at that point. If it's higher than 1 million, it's going to be very tough to defeat that referendum in October.
But it's very interesting that they're all meeting on the same weekend in Alberta.
It's the day
That's
after
all
the
I'm
leadership review. Yeah, it's the day after.
Of
So
course,
the 30th
of course it is.
Yeah, in Calgary as well. So, and the rumor is Poilievre's going to show up there.
Of course,
and
he is.
Yeah, he'll just smoosh a bit and maybe try and recruit some of the Alberta guys. I don't think the Alberta guys are recruitable in that fashion, though. They're going to go there to represent the freedom of Alberta, check out what's going on. And we're all really, nice guys. Like, we do want to hang out and get to know each other. I wasn't invited, and I have no plans on going there. I do have other things to get done, but I don't look at this as a negative thing. I just look at this as possibly a little desperate that people from outside of Alberta are trying to come here to tell us what we should and shouldn't do when it comes to the conservative movement.
Just before we sign off here, to say I've got one last question. I don't know if Nico has another one, but last time we talked, there was some Danielle Smith was kind of under fire for some of the things she was doing. What's her image in the separatist movement or sovereigntist movement right now? Is she, because I think it was more neutral before, has it tipped into more negative now, or is it still, like, where do you guys, what's the consensus on Danielle Smith in this whole thing?
It's mixed. So even on the stage yesterday, you had Mitch Sylvester, who's understanding of Danielle Smith, passing Bill 14, opening the door to the petition. But at the same time, you have Jeffrey Rath, who wants to hold her more accountable. He wants to see more action out of her as well. He thinks that she's too neutral. But you're seeing a mix even on the stage yesterday. I will let you guys know there were some conversations I had that included Danielle Smith. So I had Bruce Pardy, his name comes up a lot, on an episode with Justice Minister Mickey Amory, who wrote Bill 14. And Bruce called him out. He said, you repealed Section 2.4 out of the Citizens Initiative Act, which allowed the courts to block a petition question that may contravene the Constitution. That's what the court case in Alberta was all about. Bill 14 repealed that, which opened the door to the referendum to go ahead without court intervention. However, that section at the very last part of Bill 14 put that section into the Referendum Act and reworded it in such a way that the government itself now could or may stop any petition that's binding and successful. So this will be after the referendum vote comes back as a yes, and it's a binding one, which would be a constitutional one. They can choose not to be bound to it. So I asked Mickey Amory that question on that episode. I said, are you going to stop the independence referendum from continuing after it's successful? And his answer was he doesn't consider the independence referendum a contravening of the Constitution because there is a Supreme Court and the Clarity Act path for it. So there's a procedure for it. He doesn't see that as a constitutional contravening. However, I had Danielle Smith on a couple weeks after that, and I asked her the same question, and I let her know what Amory's answer was, and she didn't answer the question. So I asked her a second time. And her second answer was, once you get the numbers at the end of May or at the beginning of May, have me back on and I'll answer that question. And the question, frankly, is, will you stop the successful referendum from proceeding? And she wouldn't say yes or no. So we're going to have to now wait till early May when she comes back on, because that number comes back and it's strong. I don't think she'll have any other option but to say yes. Whatever the people vote is what I'll bring forward as a mandate.
It's I'm a fan of Bruce Pardy. He's ballsy as hell. Like, that guy doesn't
Yep.
care if he has a. He's gonna say what needs to be said, and God knows he can defend it too. He's a very smart guy. But I think that Danielle Smith really hurt herself. Like, somebody in the comment section called her a chameleon, and that's basically what I'm seeing too. She is playing. It really looks like her goal is she's a federalist, but she wants to be PM. That is what I've been getting from Danielle Smith ever since that MOU. It seems that she became who she really was, the person that Nadine Wellwood have been calling out for years now. It seems like she's showing who she is, but that would be a. I don't know how you guys would deal with that if she refused to just endorse the referendum, but the fact that that there's a part in the bill that allows her to do so, that bothers me. I'm not one
Yep.
of those that believes that, oh, they'll never use it. It's just, no. If it's there, they have plans to use it, or else it wouldn't be there.
Well, Justice Minister Amy did admit that they could use it to stop the independence referendum, but he said he wouldn't. But I definitely wanted to hear the same thing out of Danielle Smith. Without her taking a side, I just wanted to know if she would follow in Amory's footsteps and say that's not a contravention of the Constitution, because there is a procedure for a secession. One example I gave him was, well, let's say there was a petition that was successful and a referendum that was successful to vitiate or void out all treaties. There was an example of something that could pass. And he said, yeah, no, we would stop that, because that's exactly what this section is for. But he did say he wouldn't use it for independence, but that wasn't really his call. That would be Danielle Smith, and she wouldn't confirm or deny what she would do with that.
That's never good. That's a politician's that's politicians politicking, right? I don't like that at all.
Right. But to answer your
the
other
dumb
question, what would happen if this petition fails? That's it. It's not moving
Yeah.
forward. If it comes back with 178,000 signatures, so just enough, I think you'll see a lot more neutral talk out of her. But if it comes back with 1 million, it hits that 1 million mark, that's going to be the magic number. There's going to be no denying the strength of the support for independence and secession from Canada. And she's going to have to either step up, because what's going to happen, Nico, and I'll be frank with you, because I've had several conversations with MLAs and other people that's involved in this. There's a 6-month window. It's called the campaigning period before the referendum. If we need a different leader to carry it forward, we'll get one.
That's exactly what I thought you would say, because we've had that conversation before.
Yeah.
Jason,
I don't think she's going
always
to I don't think she's going to Cameron herself. Okay. She's not going
No.
to do a David Cameron where she just steps down. So I think if the support is there, she's going to be the one. But if she isn't, that will be the only window to get it done. And Bruce Pardy highlighted this as well, that if Danielle Smith walks to Ottawa with a referendum with low support, she could end up walking out with no deal, and we stay in Canada. So the warning's out there now.
couldn't agree with you more. I'm very curious about what's going to happen in Alberta, what's going to happen in Quebec. But yeah,
And
I'm
sorry,
happy to have
Rob, I
you
know
on.
you're a vet and you want Canada to stay together and you understand, but you're also very empathetic and you're very stoic about why. It's a very different relationship. Things are not good. And there's no good reason. How about you take
Yeah.
a shot at that question for me, Rob? Why should Alberta stay? And don't mention your pension or money. Why should Alberta stay?
Yeah. Well, if
No.
I shift my perspective from my own personal needs or my own, then I can't really come up with anything. Like I said, and fundamentally, I believe in the right of self-determination of every people. So for me, whatever happened, whether it's bad for me personally or not, it's not a personal thing for me. I would never be personally upset or feel betrayed in any way. If, let's say, this movement is successful. Again, I hope it doesn't happen. I still feel, Canadian. I want Canada to be whole. I understand if it does happen, but you know, I something's got to change, and it might even be too late, even if we change right now. But however this shakes out, I mean, there's the status quo is untenable. It's not sustainable. It cannot keep going. So there's going to be it has to be a major shift one way or the other.
Yeah, and there's a question that a lot of Albertans get asked that kind of wake them up, and that is, if we were a sovereign nation today and Canada offered us to join them under the current terms that we're under, so you're going to be more landlocked, you're not going to move your product, we're going to tax you, you got to do carbon capture, carbon tax, $30 billion extra leaving your economy, and we're going to lock down markets for you, would Alberta join? Not a chance.
Nope.
There's
But that's
no
still
upside.
the reality. No, that's 100% right. I could not find an
Yeah,
answer,
and that's
a reason.
that is the reality.
Yeah. Yeah, why would Alberta stay? I don't see it. Before we let you go, Jason, I just need to take this comment. Stu, thank you for the tip. The only way Canadian knows that PM Carney spoke to President Trump in a trade war is Fox News. Our government doesn't believe in transparency. It seems that it's not just on the federal level, but it's also on the Alberta level, because Danielle Smith wouldn't answer your question. So that's why it's funny how relevant that comment is, even though it was made almost 30 minutes ago. So good for you, Stu. You predicted the future. Jason,
well, she
as
didn't
always,
answer
man.
the question, but she did commit to come back on and answer the question later. So we'll tip a hat to that one, and we'll see what she says when she does that.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, I'm not that is like the fat guy that wants to lose weight. I'm not gonna start today. I'll start in 3 weeks. Next week. The week after. I'll do it then. Yeah, sure. Cool. She's just hoping that she doesn't have to answer your question. That's what I'm getting from not answering.
I believe you're correct, but I think she knows the reality. I think she sees the lineups too. She's not talking about it right now either way. She did come out and say the separatists are not looking to become the 51st state. So she actually supported us a couple of days ago with that quote, because it's true. Separatists and sovereignists are not looking to be the 51st state. So she came out and made that comment nice and clear. But not much more. We're hearing about other things going on right now.
She's not stupid. If there's one thing you gotta respect from Danielle Smith, she is not stupid. She's a very
I've had you both
woman.
on my show. Only intelligent people on my show, right? You've both been on. Danielle's been on. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. Jason, as always, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you on. So
yeah, love having you on, brother.
Take care, Rob. And I think Red Deer would be a good place for you, Rob. There's a lot of good people there.
Yeah. Well, my brother lives in Calgary.
Is there a lot of gay guys there? Where are the gay guys in Alberta?
The big gay scene there?
Where's the gay scene in Alberta? He's a liberal, bro. Come on. Vancouver. That is a great answer. But I agree. It's probably Calgary
awesome.
somewhere.
Free drug.
Thanks for being here, brother.
Right?
Yeah.
My pleasure, guys.
Jesus.
Take care.